Radhe Radhe. Today is Saturday, 27th May 2023. And here we are in this ongoing journey for our Bhagavad Gita study series for chapter 7. For this recap video, along with me here is Mummy.
Radhe Radhe.
I'll bring up the screen and we'll see what we covered today. So we started out with our usual quiz before getting into chapter 7, verses 26, 27, and 28. As a reminder, the quiz to recap chapter 7, verses 24 and 25 is available in the first few slides of this presentation. You can take a look at the first link in the description for this video to access the portal where these slides and other reference material are available. So as always, we do encourage you to go through those few questions and get up to speed with material we've all covered. And then we shall start out now with chapter 7, verse 26.
Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kaschana.
So chapter 7, verse 26, it has the catchphrase here as supreme seer. We saw this new term that Swamiji introduces us to in the commentary, Trikal Darshi. Trikal talking about the three aspects of time, past, present, and future. Darshi referring to seeing or vision. And so it is God, it is Sri Krishna himself and alone who knows of the past, the present, and the future. He says that in the translation here for this verse, and he says that he, of course, knows all living beings, but no one knows him. We again get a reminder of the word omniscient. God is all-knowing, which we have seen several times in connection with omnipotent, all-powerful, and omnipresent everywhere. So we tend to, keep God in our mind every now and then periodically we'll forget what happens. We'll forget incidents from a few hours ago. But God, as we have seen or heard from Swamiji, as that supremely powerful accountant, for instance, he keeps track of every single thought, word, and deed that we have, performed. And that is across our infinite lifetimes. So an immensely powerful task to perform. And of course, we do hope that we are grateful for that. And so this is, again, stressing the importance of God having his omniscient nature, knowing everything. And we see through the various shlokas covered here, in fact, such as the one from the Mundaka Upanishad, that we try to practice certain control or restraint. God's austerity, as an analog, is actually to do with knowledge. He is all the time keeping track of everything and has that ability to know everything. We just have very, very finite and limited abilities and intellects, which is why we learned that God is beyond the scope of our intellect. Likewise, from the Ramayana, for instance, God cannot be analyzed by arguments or reached by words, the mind, or the intellect. Therefore, building up from last week, as we learned about Yogamaya, who will bestow grace upon us to be united with Sri Krishna, it is essential to get that grace through the elements of surrender and bhakti. As Swamiji says, we'll learn more about that in chapter 10 and chapter 18 as well. But for now, this is the essence of chapter 7, verse 26. Next up is going to be chapter 7, verse 27.
Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa.
So chapter 7, verse 27, illusion, the first three letters, ill. So ill from illusion. In fact, we see that as delusion that we have seen several times before, as early as later part of chapter 1 and certainly chapter 2. So here, Sri Krishna is telling Arjun, and as Mummy reminded us in class, he uses two very, very impactful appellations. Bharata, O descendant of Bharat, and Parantapa, O conqueror of enemies. As Mummy told us in class, that is again to stress importance on something very, very essential. Arjun's listening with rapt attention, but this is to get him even more alert about what material Sri Krishna is about to present. And that is again for us as listeners as well. So Sri Krishna tells Arjun that it is these dualities, these pairs of opposites, such as of desire and aversion, that are arising from illusion when we are not identifying ourselves as the soul. And therefore, in this material realm, we get deluded by all of that. So he saw several examples again that we've seen before of these opposing pairs, these dualities, and such as night and day, winter and summer, and so on. We also talked a little bit about birth and death. We've seen that as independent terms in the past. Today we see it in this context that the moment there is birth, then death is also certain. But again, to rise above that presumed sadness or morbidity, it is to take us to connect ourselves as recognizing we as individual souls. And souls, remember, they are imperishable. So they'll continue lifetime after lifetime. It's just this human form that is temporary, and that is what constitutes birth and death. So the takeaway for this verse is really about equanimity. We reminded everybody about chapter 2 and the term equanimous or equanimity, maintaining that even temper, that even balance between these different dualities as they occur as we go through life. Having that, then we will eventually be swayed away from that power that Maya drags us to, that material world, and instead go more towards Yog Maya, which is going to be towards spirituality, surrender, and bhakti, and getting us that privilege or that qualification of being bestowed with the grace needed for that yog, for that union with Sri Krishna. So as Swamiji says, rising above these dualities, these attachments and aversions, those two sides of the same coin, that is what is going to get us that grace and appreciation of God's creation. Finally, we shall see chapter 7, verse 28.
येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ताः भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः.
So chapter 7, verse 28. As a reminder, chapter 7, verse 27, the catchphrase was ill from illusion. We need a remedy when we're ill. Therefore, now we have chapter 7, verse 28, pill for illusion. And that pill, many of you will probably know, we do see it here in Sri Krishna's words as pious activities. Pious activities, surrender, bhakti, sadhana, all that devotion will help us destroy our sins, cleanse our minds, purify our hearts. And therefore, Sri Krishna says, become free from that illusion of dualities. And in turn, people who practice such pious activities, they worship Sri Krishna with determination. As Swamiji says, it's in fact unshakable determination. So a reminder that we saw previously a week or two ago, unflinching, having that unflinching, undeviating faith, or here, that unshakable determination is what is important as we perform our worship to Sri Krishna. Short commentary, we do get a recap from chapter 2, verse 69 about day and night. People are welcome to go back and look at that. Again, really looking at trials and tribulations or hurdles and obstacles as opportunities for growth, not for pain and setbacks. And again, having a balanced nature towards both pain as well as pleasure that helps us get awakened to that, rising above those dualities, and therefore channeling our attention and energies towards pious activities and towards worshiping Sri Krishna with that full faith. In fact, I'm briefly reminded, I think, of an example of Kunti when she had requested Sri Krishna, in fact, to provide even more, she wished for more troubles or obstacles in life so that Krishna would always be close to them to help and support them. So God is all around. Sometimes we forget, sometimes we recognize, but it is through that element of constant practice and constant worship that is going to get us to stronger spiritual growth and eventually, at some point, getting that grace that we require for union with God. So that is chapter 7, verse 28. I'll hand it over to Mummy to enlighten us for our Sanskrit dictionaries and any other terminology and concepts.
Okay. Thank you, Gagan. So a very important word, as you explained already, is Trikaldarshi, that everybody should pay attention to. Darshi means to see, Kal means time, and Tri means three. Somebody who can see through all the three different times, past, present, and future. That is God. Okay. Now, from the verse, let's look at the word Samtitani. Because I think Vartmanani and Bhavishyani, they are the easier ones, present and future. Samtitani, that means the past. So let's learn this new word. Then from verse number 27, we will look at the word Samutthena. Samutthena means to arise from. How do all the desires, the dualities arise from? They arise from illusion. So the word used for arise from in Sanskrit is Samutthena. Then verse number 28, a very often used word, but very important word. Let's learn Dridha Vrataha. Dridha Vrataha means with great determination. And that will help us to implement this wisdom and knowledge which we are learning, to implement that knowledge in our lives. That basically, the example just now Gagan gave of Kunti, it's so correct and true that when after the end of Mahabharata and when the kingdom was given to Yudhishthir, Krishna asked Kunti that ask me something, and she said, no, give me all these trials and tribulations. Krishna, I have no problem because of these trials and tribulations, I am always more connected with you. So that is what we should welcome, pain and obstacles in our life wholeheartedly, because only in that situation we will keep on remembering God, because we need help from God. So, but natural, we will keep on praying to God and we'll keep on connecting with God. When there is too much of pleasure and happiness around, that is the time we forget God. So that is how we have to learn to become equanimous in any kind of situation. This is what Krishna is teaching us in these 3 verses. With that, over to you, Gagan.
Yeah, thank you, Mummy. And in fact, I wanted to bring up a word to add for our English dictionaries as well. Almost slipped my mind. Self-abnegation. We covered this in class, so please do revisit that again. Self-abnegation refers to the renunciation of one's desires. So typically as a yogi, perform certain austerities or asceticism, give up certain aspects or elements of desire. So renouncing all those desires, that is self-abnegation. Please do add that to your English dictionaries. With that, we're coming towards the end of this recap video.
Because God is Trikaldarshi and He knows all about us, what we need, what we don't need. So we don't have to ask Him for anything. We have to learn to renounce our desires, only increase the desire for His seva, for His चरणों की भक्ति, कृष्णा के चरणों की भक्ति and कृष्णा के चरणों की seva. These are the only 2 things where we have to increase our desire. Rest everything we have to renounce, and Krishna will automatically on his own take care of everything for us. With that, I take your leave. Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, indeed. Well said, Mummy, and good for us to keep in mind. Yep. So getting to the end of this recap video, we shall see you next week, same time, same place. That is Saturday, but a new month, 3rd June 2023. So 8 a.m. Central Time, 6:30 p.m. India time for this Bhagavad Gita study series. towards the end of chapter 7. Of course, as always, 3 hours after this class starts, you're welcome to also join us for Bhagavad Gita recitation. So that'll be shortly after this and every Saturday as well. Currently, we are covering chapter 9 over there. So that is 11 a.m. Central Time, 9:30 p.m. India time. And of course, final comment, in particular this weekend, shortly, Swamiji's West Coast retreat is starting. So we do hope many of you are able to partake of that, either in person or online, and enjoy everything, Kirtans, Bhajans, Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, sadhana, and lots more. Once again, see you then next week, Saturday, 3rd June 2023. Till then, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.